Tyrese Haliburton tried to play through that injury, obviously tore his Achilles. You commended him on First Things First for playing through that. Is his injury in Game 7 the single biggest story of the finals? Or the playoffs included?
No, I don't think so. The story has to be the champion, but the most memorable piece of this is his injury. And so I said almost all of this on TV, but I want to reiterate it here. It's two things. One is, I am not going to run from or pretend that after Game 6, I didn't have real questions. No, I definitely. Oh, hold on. That didn't happen. I did. I at no point did I call him soft.
No, you didn't call him soft, but you were like, if you're moving around, like you got to play. And 100%.
Well, and what I said was he didn't look hurt.
Right.
That it seemed like it was. I said that for a guy to have a calf strain and supposed to be out a month or a few weeks, which is what the reporting was.
He was pretty mobile.
To injure it and then play after the injury in game 5, played 27 minutes after the injury. And then in Game 6 was awesome. I said, is unlike any calf strain I've ever seen. Now, I actually was watching Game 7 with some active NBA players. And when it happened, everybody all reacted the same. But I just said, I was like, if it was that close to tearing, how did he move like that in Game 6? And what one player in particular said to me said two things that I thought were fascinating. He said, in our league, the calf strain is the new torn MCL, like a scary precursor of a potential devastating injury. And the other thing they said was the calf strain, it's not like a hamstring where when it happens, you just simply can't move as well.
Right.
But it's that he's like, with a hamstring or a groin, you can see the impact it has because of how NBA players move. They can't move as well. So like with a calf, you can move a lot of times okay, and you won't see it. But the only way to get it, to heal it, is to stay off it.
Right.
He was like, it has, if you get a calf strain, it's got to be what he told me was 3 or 4 weeks of nothing, of just flatly staying off it, or else you risk that. And so I didn't know that. And so when I saw Hallie moving around like he was in Game 6, the timeline of my Haliburton takes were Game 5, and DeMonte disagreed with me on it. I didn't really cut him a lot of slack for a 0 field goal, 0 for 6 performance because he was playing. And in Game 6, he was so fluid and so good, I thought, okay, he's, dodged a bullet here. Of course he's going to play Game 7. Of course he was going to play Game 6. And then in Game 7 minutes in, he tears his Achilles. So all that happened, right? And people can judge it however they want. That's fair is fair. Here is my updated, if you will, opinion that maybe people will judge this as well. It's good that he played. He was supposed to play. He wanted to play. And he took a risk that he was supposed to take. When you, and people were like, well, it cost him and them all of next year. If the goal of team sports is to win a championship, games 6 and 7 of these NBA finals, Demonze, had more championship equity attached to them than next season in its entirety for the Indiana Pacers. Like, when you are that close, like, those games are worth more in your chance to win a championship than the entirety of next season. They just are. And
your mindset,
the goal, like, your mindset, and also just for your teams, like for the Pacers, what Haliburton's performance in Game 6 and even just the 5 minutes of Game 7 added more to the Pacers' championship probability than him having a full All-NBA season next year. Because even if that happens, like, you still have to get through the whole tournament and get there. And so they were there. So the only and qualifier I think that one would put on it is, yes, that's all true. The goal of team sports is to win a championship, but the goal of anyone in what they do for a living is to make a living for them and their family. So if Tyrese Haliburton were in the final year of a rookie contract and hadn't been, re-signed, then you do have to do some personal math on what this means for me and the people I care about and all of that. But when you are Tyrese Haliburton and you are in the first year of a 5-year, $250 million contract, and you can play and play well through the injury while risking catastrophe, which is what happened, playing is the right thing. He made the right call. It went terribly for him, but he made the right call. And by the way, I said this on TV yesterday, and then he today or last night tweeted this. Well, tweeted a lot, but one of the things he wrote is the following. Well, I'll just read you the whole thing. Man, don't know how to explain it other than shock. Words cannot express the pain of this letdown. The frustration is unfathomable. I've worked my whole life to get to this moment, and this is how it ends. Makes no sense. Your heart breaks. Like, for real. Now that I've gotten the surgery, I wish you could count the number of times people will tell me I'm going to, quote, come back stronger. What a cliche, LOL. This shit sucks. My foot feels like dead weight, fam. But what's hurting most, I think, is my mind. Feel like I'm rambling, but I know this is something I'll look back on when I'm through this as something I'm proud I fought through. It feels good to let this shit out without y'all seeing the kid ugly cry. At 25, I've already learned that God never gives us more than we can handle. I know I'll come out better on the other side of this, a better man and a better player. And this is the part that I speaks to what I was saying. And honestly, right now, torn Achilles and all, I don't regret it. I'd do it again and again after that to fight for this city and my brothers for the chance to do something special. And he goes on from there. And everybody, people can check it out on Twitter. That's right. That's right. And the point I made at the top of the show that Brew made yesterday that I think is worth revisiting is I always go back to that quote. It's from the guy who wrote The Road. Who wrote The Road? The Road author. Cormac McCarthy. And the quote is, never underestimate the awful luck that your bad luck saved you from. And that that to me is like a very, from like a mental well-being standpoint, a very useful quote that for me as a parent, it has helped me a ton. the only really tough instance in my life since I've started really kind of leaning on that kind of mind frame that didn't help at all with was last year when our friend passed, because there's no like silver lining to that. There's not like, oh, well, because the sudden death of a friend is, it's as rough as it gets. But I had some, anything bad that's happened to a loved one, I've tried to use that as a silver lining, or bad that's happened to me. And when I bring it up with Haliburton is this: the road not taken for Haliburton is don't play. Keep the Achilles intact. And for the rest of your career, wonder, what if? And did you let your teammates down? Did you let the city down? Was that would you have gotten through it without getting hurt? Did you leave your championship on the board? And when I say never underestimate the awful luck your bad luck saved you from, would that DeMonze have changed him fundamentally as a player? A guy whose rep for this postseason was the most cold-blooded assassin at the end of games. Would that decision tree have altered him? And while his Achilles would have been intact, would have changed him forever? Maybe. Absolutely maybe. So I think that he clearly made the right decision, even though it was a tragic decision.